The penthouse was eerily quiet, the only sound a faint hum of the city far below. Marcus Hale lay on a massive king-size bed, staring at the ornate ceiling, pretending to sleep. He could hear every tiny creak of the floorboards, every whisper of movement in his luxury penthouse. Every instinct screamed that someone in his carefully curated world had overstepped, a truth he needed to uncover. Marcus wasn't a cruel man, but he was meticulous. Everything in his life had a place. His schedule, his possessions, his people. And lately, he had noticed small inconsistencies. Papers moved. Coffee cups left in odd places. A faint smell of perfume, not his own, lingering when the maid, Lila, was in the kitchen. Suspicion had been growing, and now he had devised a test. He would pretend to sleep watch and see if loyalty would falter. The room was bathed in the soft glow of city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Lila entered cautiously, her polished shoes whispering against a marble floor. She was young, perhaps 24, with dark, neatly tied hair and eyes that always seemed to measure the room before she stepped into it. She had been with Marcus for nearly 6 months, and, until now, she had seemed perfect, punctual, silent, efficient. "Mr. Hale?" she whispered, glancing at the bed. Marcus didn't stir. His eyes remained closed, chest rising and falling in slow, deliberate breaths. She approached the nightstand and began straightening the papers, aligning the pens just so. Marcus watched every flicker of her expression, every subtle movement, and then she paused. Something in her hesitation made his stomach tighten. Her hand brushed against a small envelope, white, unmarked, almost inconspicuous. Lila's eyes darted toward the door, as if checking to see if anyone had witnessed her. Then, with a careful glance at the bed, she slipped the envelope into her apron pocket. Marcus's heart pounded, but he didn't move. Not yet. He needed to know everything. Minutes felt like hours as he continued to play the part of a sleeping man. Lila moved on, tidying the living room, arranging magazines on a glass coffee table, adjusting the cushions. Every movement was precise, practiced, but that envelope, that simple, secretive act had him frozen in place. Then came the test's second phase. Marcus had planted a small, hidden camera behind the ornate vase in the hallway, pointing directly at the kitchen doorway. He wanted more than just a single glance at her behavior. He wanted evidence. Lila, unaware of the camera, finished her chores and lingered near the refrigerator, hesitating again. Marcus's mind raced. What could she be planning? Theft? Betrayal? Or something worse? Her hand slipped into the pocket where she had hidden the envelope. She took a deep breath and pulled it out, revealing a folded sheet of paper. Marcus's eyes narrowed beneath his lashes. He forced himself to remain still, though every fiber of him screamed, arise, confront, demand. She unfolded the paper and read silently. Her lips quivered, but she did not cry. Then she folded it carefully, slipped it back into her apron, and walked toward the balcony, her steps light, almost imperceptible. Marcus's pulse quickened. He had expected many things, but not this careful, trembling ritual of secrecy. He knew then that the envelope was important, too important to ignore. He decided to wait, to see what she would do next. The apartment remained shrouded in the quiet tension of midnight. The city outside continued its relentless pulse, unaware of the drama unfolding in Marcus Hale's penthouse. Lila's shadow moved across the balcony floor as she reached the railing, glancing down at the glittering streets below. Then she whispered something soft, barely audible. "I hope you'll forgive me." Marcus's eyes shot open, and for the first time she noticed him. Her face drained of color, and the envelope slipped from her hands, fluttering to the balcony floor. Marcus moved faster than she could react, snatching it up before it tumbled over the edge. "What is this?" Marcus demanded, voice low but laced with authority. Lila's hands trembled. I didn't know if I could trust you, sir, but it had to be done." Marcus's brow furrowed. "Explain." She swallowed hard, tears forming but held them back. "I overheard something about your investments. Someone's trying to manipulate you. They sent me, well, not exactly sent me, but I found this letter. It's proof. I meant to bring it to you when no one was around. I didn't want them to know I was watching." Marcus stared at her, his mind racing. This was a revelation, but not the betrayal he had feared. Instead, it was courage and initiative, something far rarer than loyalty. He opened the envelope carefully, revealing detailed documents outlining a scheme to defraud him of millions. Names, dates, instructions, all meticulously written. His pulse slowed as understanding replaced suspicion. Lila had risked exposure to protect him. A tense silence filled the room, broken only by the distant hum of traffic. Marcus looked at her differently now, seeing her not just as an employee, but as a guardian of his world. "Why didn't you just come to me?" he asked quietly, almost in disbelief. "I didn't know if I could," she admitted, "and I didn't want anyone to know I was involved. I've seen what happens to people who get caught in the middle of things like this." Marcus walked to the balcony, staring down at the city. For years, he had relied on people who promised loyalty but failed him. He had tested this young woman, expecting deception. Instead, she had risked everything to do the right thing. He turned to her, voice steadier now. You've done more for me than most people I've known. And you didn't even ask for recognition." Her lips quivered, a small smile breaking through. "I didn't expect any. I just wanted to make sure the right person knew." Marcus's hand rested on the envelope, his mind processing the depth of the trust she had shown. Then, slowly, he smiled. A real smile, one he rarely allowed himself. "You've earned more than trust tonight, Lila," he said. "You've earned my respect." The tension in the penthouse melted, replaced by an unusual warmth. Marcus realized that loyalty wasn't tested through deception, but revealed through courage under pressure. He had set a trap to catch dishonesty, only to discover something far rarer: integrity. Lila exhaled, relief flooding her. Marcus could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight she had carried alone. He understood then that being cautious didn't mean being suspicious. It meant knowing when to recognize bravery. The night stretched on, filled with the quiet intimacy of shared understanding. Marcus and Lila went over the documents, uncovering the full extent of the scheme. The city lights reflected in their eyes, each revelation binding them in an unspoken pact. By morning, Marcus knew he had changed. Trust, he realized, was a fragile thing. But when given freely, without expectation, it was transformative. Lila had shown him that, and he would never take it lightly again. He leaned back in his chair, looking at the city skyline as dawn crept over the horizon. Lila stood nearby, a quiet presence, no longer just a maid, but an ally. And in that moment, Marcus understood that true loyalty wasn't blind obedience. It was courage, honesty, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. The next day, the penthouse felt different, almost alive with tension, though quieter than usual. Marcus watched Lila move through the kitchen, her steps still precise, almost ritualistic. She hummed softly, a tune so faint it was barely noticeable, but it carried an undercurrent of nerves. Marcus wondered how much courage it must have taken her last night to act so boldly. He cleared his throat, startling her slightly. "Lila, I want you to tell me everything you know about these people." She nodded, clutching the apron closer around her waist. "It's complicated, sir, but I'll explain." She led him to the living room, where the early sunlight filtered through sheer curtains, painting soft lines across the marble floor. Lila spread the documents across the glass coffee table, pointing to specific notes and names. Marcus leaned in, absorbing every detail. Each revelation was like stepping deeper into a labyrinth of deception and danger. "They've been planning this for months," she said, "and they have connections, powerful ones. I couldn't risk going to the authorities without proof, because if they suspected, they could have hurt you." Marcus's jaw tightened. He had faced enemies before, corporate rivals, greedy investors, but this was personal, precise, and hidden. The idea that someone had embedded themselves into his life, observing, manipulating, and potentially orchestrating harm, made his pulse race. "And you," he said quietly, meeting her eyes, "you've put yourself in danger for me." "Why?" Lila swallowed, looking down. "Because not everyone deserves betrayal. Some people deserve loyalty, even if they don't realize it. I saw the way things were shifting in your company, the subtle hints that something was off. I couldn't ignore it. I had to act, even if it meant being caught." Marcus's gaze softened. For so long, he had measured people by their usefulness, their obedience, their discretion. But this was different. This was bravery and integrity wrapped into one small, quiet figure standing before him. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a sharp knock on the door. Marcus froze, a cold instinct running down his spine. He hadn't expected visitors. Not today, not yet. "Who is it?" he asked, voice measured. A low, unfamiliar voice called back. "Marcus Hale. Open up, or we make things difficult." Lila stiffened beside him. Her eyes widened as Marcus gestured for her to stay back. He approached the door cautiously, the envelope clutched tightly in one hand. Peering through the peephole, he saw two men, well-dressed, confident, and clearly sent with purpose. He stepped back, heart pounding. "They're not here for you," he whispered to Lila. "They're here for the envelope." Lila's face drained to color. "They must know you have proof." Marcus didn't answer. He quickly assessed the situation. The men had been confident enough to approach the penthouse directly, suggesting they knew something, but they hadn't barged in. That hesitation could be a weakness. "Lila," he said, lowering his voice, "we need a plan." She nodded, though fear lingered in her eyes. Marcus grabbed his phone and sent a discreet alert to his private security team, a luxury he rarely relied on, but now realized he could not ignore. The sound of approaching footsteps in the hallway triggered a surge of adrenaline. The men knocked again, harder this time. "Marcus Hale." "Open the door." Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing. "Lila, you go to the study. Lock the door. I'll handle them." Her hand brushed his arm briefly, a fleeting gesture of trust, and she moved quickly, disappearing down the hallway. Marcus opened the door just a crack. The taller of the two men stepped forward, a thin smirk on his face. "Nice place you got here. Shame it'll be empty soon." "I think you're mistaken," Marcus said calmly, masking the tension curling in his chest. "I don't know what you want, but I suggest you leave." The man chuckled. "We know exactly what we want, Marcus. That little package you have. Hand it over, and maybe we'll leave with smiles on our faces." Marcus's grip on the envelope tightened. "I don't have it." The shorter man's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to us. We have friends in your building. We know it's here." Marcus realized that bluffing was dangerous. He needed to buy time. "If you want it, you'll have to come in. Otherwise, you're wasting your time." The taller man's expression shifted, calculating. "Fine." He pushed the door, attempting to enter. Marcus slammed his foot in the doorway, forcing them back. He moved quickly, pulling out a small but sleek self-defense device from his jacket, a gift from an ex-military friend. With a quick flick, a blinding flash erupted, forcing the men to recoil, momentarily stunned. Taking advantage, Marcus bolted down the hallway, intercepting Lila as she exited the study. "We need to get to the elevator," he shouted. The men recovered quickly, fury flashing in their eyes. "Stop them," one barked. Marcus and Lila sprinted through the apartment, adrenaline driving every step. The hallway felt narrower, the penthouse somehow larger and more suffocating than usual. The elevator dinged open just as the men reached the stairs, forcing a split-second decision. Marcus grabbed the doors just before they closed. Inside, they were silent for a few moments, catching their breath. Marcus pressed the emergency button, sending the elevator hurtling down at full speed. The city blurred past the windows, a dizzying mix of lights and steel. "Why are they after this?" Lila asked, voice trembling. Marcus shook his head. "Because it's bigger than either of us imagined. Whoever wrote this letter, they're connected to people who won't stop until they get what they want." Lila looked down at the envelope, clutched tightly in her hands. "I just wanted to protect you. I didn't think it would come to this." Marcus's gaze softened. "And yet, here we are. But thanks to you, we're still in control. You made the right choice." The elevator jolted, slowing to a stop in the lobby. Marcus and Lila stepped out into the muted, early morning light. Their security team, already alerted, had quietly surrounded the building. The men outside were nowhere to be seen. Marcus exhaled, relief mingling with exhaustion. He turned to Lila. "You've proven something tonight. Not just loyalty, courage, something rare." Lila's lips quivered. I didn't want to see you hurt." Marcus nodded. "And because of that, we're still standing. But we need to move carefully. These people won't give up." Lila glanced at him, a silent question in her eyes. He smiled, a hint of warmth returning to his face. "We fight smart. Together." The tension slowly dissipated as they walked toward the waiting security vehicles. Marcus glanced at the envelope one last time. What had begun as a simple test of loyalty had unveiled something far more profound. Trust and courage weren't things you could demand. They were revealed when everything was on the line. The city had woken fully now, but the streets below Marcus's penthouse were eerily calm. The sun glinted off glass towers, but the warmth of the morning did little to ease the cold knot of unease in Marcus's chest. He and Lila sat in the back of a sleek black SUV, the envelope secured in a hidden compartment between them. "Who do you think they are?" Lila asked, her voice quieter than usual. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He studied her face, noting the strain in her jaw, the faint tremor in her hands. She had faced danger before. He knew it. But this was different. It was close, personal. He had tested loyalty before with people he thought he could trust, but none had risked themselves like this. "They're not amateurs," he finally said. This was carefully orchestrated. Someone knew what they were doing and how far they could push people. And now, they know you've interfered. Lila's eyes widened. "Then they'll come back." "They will," Marcus admitted. "But we won't be caught off guard this time." He leaned back, eyes scanning the streets as the SUV glided through traffic. "Tell me everything about this letter. Every detail you remember. Who sent it, what it says, everything." Lila recounted what she could remember. Vague references to names, dates, coded instructions. Marcus took mental notes, piecing together the puzzle. The more they talked, the clearer it became that this wasn't just about corporate theft. It was about power, influence, and control. Someone wanted him weakened, exposed, vulnerable. As the SUV turned down a quiet side street, Marcus's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. He glanced at it, an image of the envelope lying open on the penthouse floor. Someone had taken a photo during the chaos. "Damn it," he muttered. "They're tracking us." Lila leaned forward, urgency in her voice. "Then we need to go somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't reach us easily." Marcus nodded. "Agreed. But first, we need to understand who's behind this. Whoever it is, they won't stop until they get what they want, or until we're out of the picture." The SUV veered into an underground parking garage, where a second vehicle awaited, a nondescript van Marcus used for emergencies. He and Lila transferred quickly, the envelope never leaving sight. The van rumbled to life, moving deeper into the industrial outskirts of the city. Inside, Marcus allowed himself a moment to assess Lila. "You've done well," he said quietly. "More than I ever expected. But this is only the beginning." She nodded, gripping the edge of her seat. "I didn't expect it to go this far either. I didn't want to see you hurt." His eyes softened. "And because of that, we have a chance to fight back." Hours passed as they pieced together information. Every lead, every name. Every trace of evidence painted a picture of an organization far more dangerous than they initially imagined. It wasn't just about money. It was about influence, corruption, and control. The people behind it had tentacles reaching into corporations, government offices, and even law enforcement. "You're telling me we're up against ghosts?" Lila muttered, disbelief and fear mixed in her tone. "Not ghosts," Marcus corrected. "People. Real ones. Dangerous ones. But not invincible." Their planning was interrupted by a sharp beep from Marcus's encrypted phone. A message appeared, a single line of text accompanied by a video file. "We know you have the envelope. Surrender it or she dies." Lila's breath caught in her throat. She recognized the voice immediately. It was one of the men from the penthouse. The video showed a woman bound and gagged, tears streaming down her face. Marcus clenched his fists. Rage surged through him, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Stay with me," he said to Lila. "We do this smart. No rash moves. We protect her and we end this." Lila nodded, though the fear in her eyes was unmistakable. Marcus could feel her trembling beside him, but he also saw determination. She had faced fear before and had chosen courage over self-preservation. That courage would be essential now. They spent the next several hours planning. Every move had to be calculated. They identified potential safe houses, mapped escape routes, and coordinated with a small team Marcus trusted implicitly. Every scenario was analyzed, every contingency accounted for. By nightfall, they were ready. Marcus held the envelope tightly, feeling its weight, not just as proof of the scheme, but as a symbol of trust, courage, and the stakes they faced. The operation began under the cover of darkness. Marcus and Lila moved silently through back streets, avoiding cameras and patrols. Every step was precise, every shadow a potential threat. As they neared the location where the woman was held, Marcus signaled for Lila to stay back. He slipped inside the building alone, moving through corridors lined with steel doors and dim lighting. Every sound echoed ominously. He could hear the faintest movements, footsteps, whispers, the rustle of chains. Finally, he reached the room. The woman inside looked up as he entered, fear etched across her features. Marcus moved quickly, cutting her bindings and ushering her towards safety. But just as they were about to exit, a door slammed shut behind them. The men from the penthouse appeared, blocking the way. "Going somewhere?" the taller one sneered, stepping forward. Marcus didn't hesitate. He lunged, using every ounce of strength, training, and strategy he had. The fight was brutal and precise. Marcus wasn't just fighting for himself, but for everyone depending on him now. Lila appeared at his side, using the element of surprise to disable one of the men with a well-placed strike. Together, they fought their way out, adrenaline pushing them beyond fear and exhaustion. They emerged into the night air, the city skyline glowing above them like silent witnesses to their struggle. The woman safe, the envelope still secure, Marcus turned to Lila. "We did it," he said, voice thick with relief. "We made it through." Lila shook her head, tears of exhaustion and relief mingling on her cheeks. "No, we all did it. You didn't see what I almost lost." Marcus's gaze softened. And that's exactly why loyalty and courage matter. Not just for survival, but for the people worth protecting. The night stretched on, filled with quiet reflection. The city below seemed to breathe with them, each light a reminder of lives continuing, unaware of the battles fought in shadows. Marcus realized that trust, once tested and proven, was far stronger than suspicion, and courage, shown in moments of quiet resolve or fierce confrontation, was a force that could change the course of events. Lila glanced at him, a faint smile breaking through exhaustion. "So what now?" Marcus looked at the envelope, then at her. "Now, we make sure this never happens again. And we make sure loyalty like yours is never wasted." The dawn slowly crept over the horizon, casting golden light across their faces. The battle was over, for now, but the lesson remained clear. Courage, loyalty, and integrity were not just ideals. They were weapons against a world that thrived on betrayal. Marcus Hale had tested loyalty, and in the quiet courage of a young maid named Lila, he had found something far more powerful than he had ever imagined. The city streets were quiet as Marcus, Lila, and the rescued woman, whose name was revealed as Amara, slipped into the relative safety of a nondescript safe house. The envelope remained clutched tightly in Marcus's hand, a tangible proof of both danger and trust. But even in the relative calm, Marcus knew the real threat had not yet fully revealed itself. Inside the dimly lit safe house, Lila sank into a chair, exhaustion pulling at her limbs. "I can't believe we made it," she whispered, voice trembling. Marcus placed the envelope on the table and leaned against the wall, arms crossed, mind racing. "They underestimated us," he said quietly. "They thought fear and secrecy would control the situation. But courage changes everything." Amara, still shaken, looked at Lila. "You risked yourself for me?" Lila shook her head, her voice soft. "I didn't know it was you specifically. I just knew someone needed to act. Someone had to protect what mattered." Marcus's gaze lingered on Lila, a mixture of respect and quiet admiration in his eyes. "You've done more than protect someone," he said. "You've proven that loyalty isn't about following orders blindly. It's about making the right choice when it matters most." Suddenly, the small TV in the corner flickered on, showing a live news feed. The reporter's voice was strained with urgency. "Authorities are investigating a major corporate conspiracy targeting several high-profile executives in the city. Early reports suggest that evidence has emerged, implicating a powerful underground network." Marcus and Lila exchanged a glance. The news confirmed that their actions had tipped the scales. The envelope, the evidence they risked everything to protect, was beginning to unravel conspiracy. But even as relief began to settle in, Marcus's instincts warned him not to relax completely. "They're still out there," he said, voice low. "They won't stop just because the public is watching. We have to end this ourselves." Lila nodded. "Then we finish it." The next night, Marcus orchestrated a calculated move, using the evidence in the envelope. He traced the leaders of the conspiracy to a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of the city. With a small, trusted team and Lila at his side, they approached under the cover of darkness. Inside, the warehouse was a labyrinth of offices and storage rooms, shadows twisting in the dim light. Marcus's plan was precise. Confront the leaders, secure full evidence, and ensure Amara's safety without unnecessary bloodshed. The first confrontation was tense. The conspirators, confident in their numbers, attempted to intimidate Marcus with threats and brandish weapons. But Marcus remained calm, his eyes sharp. "This ends tonight," he said firmly. "You've been exposed, and your manipulation stops here." Lila, standing slightly behind him, held herself steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She knew every movement counted, every second mattered. When one of the men lunged toward Marcus, she intercepted him with a swift, controlled strike. The fight was chaotic but precise. Each move measured, each decision a balance between aggression and strategy. Amara, though frightened, followed Marcus's instructions, assisting in disabling security systems and ensuring no evidence was destroyed. Together, they cornered the leaders, who had no choice but to surrender. Finally, Marcus confronted the mastermind, the person who had orchestrated everything. The tension in the room was palpable, the air thick with fear, anger, and triumph. Marcus held the envelope aloft. "Your games end here. You underestimated the power of loyalty, courage, and integrity, and that cost you everything." The mastermind's face twisted in anger and disbelief. "You think this changes anything?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "No, but it changes you, and it changes the world around you. People like Lila, people like me, we act when others hesitate, and that makes all the difference." As authorities arrived, guided by the evidence Marcus had secured, the warehouse fell silent. The conspirators were taken into custody, their plans dismantled, and their network exposed. Outside, under the glow of streetlights, Marcus turned to Lila, Her face was streaked with sweat and grime, but her eyes held something far greater. Quiet pride, relief, and the knowledge that she had made a difference. "You could have walked away," Marcus said softly. "You didn't. You risked everything to do what was right." Lila smiled faintly. "Because someone needed to, and because I trusted you." Marcus nodded. "Trust isn't given lightly. It's tested, refined, proven. And tonight, you've shown me that loyalty isn't about following. It's about standing when it counts. You've earned more than respect. You've earned a place by my side." The first light of dawn began to pierce the horizon, casting a soft golden glow over the city. Marcus and Lila stood together, the chaos behind them, the city before them, and a lesson etched deeply into both their hearts. Courage, loyalty, and integrity are forces stronger than deception, fear, or greed. For Marcus Hale, the man who once tested loyalty through deception, the night had revealed something far more profound. The rare and quiet power of a person willing to act rightly, even when the cost is fear, pain, or risk. And in that courage, he had found not just loyalty, but hope, a hope that no scheme, no betrayal could ever extinguish. Lila glanced at the rising sun. "So, what now?" she asked, voice softer, lighter than before. Marcus smiled, a real, unguarded smile that reached his eyes. "Now we move forward, together, and we make sure the people who do the right thing are never overlooked." They walked away from the warehouse, the city awakening around them. The envelope, once a symbol of suspicion and fear, now lay secure, proof of courage and integrity that had changed the course of many lives. And as they disappeared into morning light, Marcus knew one truth above all. Loyalty tested and proven was more powerful than any deception, and courage in the face of fear would always be remembered. The world might never know their names, their struggle, or their sacrifice. But Marcus Hale and Lila, Maid, protector, friend, had faced the shadows and emerged stronger, their bond forged in fire, their hearts forever changed. And in that quiet, golden dawn, Marcus Hale understood fully. Some tests are never about catching betrayal. They are about discovering the rare, unyielding courage that exists when it matters most.